Welcome to Business Live, everyone. We begin with the airports today because it's been in the news. Domestic and international flights are resuming after workers of the Ghana Airports Company called off a strike action at the Kotoka International Airport. The strike was to demand the removal of the managing director, Yakwakwa, who is being accused of mismanagement. It was called off after intervention by the ministers designate for national security and transport. They've been in a crisis meeting with staff of the Ghana Airports Company. We'll hear the outcome of that meeting very soon. First, let's revisit the frustration shared by some passengers who were left stranded as a result of the industrial action.
Traveling to this morning?
Why I'm traveling?
Where are you traveling to?
Where? Kumasi.
Kumasi.
Yeah.
And so for some hours now, we understand that there's a strike action. Do you know what's going on here? And why the staff are not at post?
I don't know.
Anything?
I don't know.
Okay, so how impacting is it? Are you going to do something very serious?
Yeah, for business.
For business?
Yeah.
And so we understand that this will very much impact what you are going to do. What kind of impact will this have on whatever business you are going to do?
Oh yeah, lots of airplane have been cancelled, so not many chance to take an airplane. Yeah.
Right. So how long will you wait before you take some other means to travel?
Oh, I'm planning very earlier. I need to planning earlier. So.
Right. So this gentleman here telling us that he would wait for a while before he would use some other means to travel. Let me talk to some more people here. Where are you traveling to, and how is this impacting you?
Oh, Takrady.
Takrady.
Yes.
And so since you've been here, have you received any official information from staff members?
Basically, they are saying they are on strike. So we're just waiting if it will happen. If not, we are just waiting for the next announcement. If it's going to happen, that's fine. If not, then we would have to go back. So it's unfortunate anyway.
Will you want to use some other means to get to where you are going?
Oh, well, we either drive, we either drive. But I mean, if we had to drive, we would have done that at dawn. You understand? So there's some form of urgency, and some of these things are unfortunate anyway. But I hope they get it resolved as soon as possible.
Thank you. So this is very unfortunate, and they hope that this gets resolved as soon as possible for them to be able to get it. So we'll try and speak to more passengers here at the airport and get an understanding of how this is impacting them. Hello, please, you are live on JoyNews.
So we can't.
Please, where are you traveling to?
Travel to go
And then since you've been here, they said they are on strike.
This morning, 6 p.m. Didn't say play, we don't go.
Well, so that was the situation at the Kotoka International Airport. Prince Apia reports on how events unfolded at the Kumasi Airport as domestic flights were grounded.
Here in the Ashanti region, the Kumasi International Airport, a number of the passengers who have been here since 6 in the morning to catch the 6:30 flight have all been very much stranded. I should say that right from that time till this time, a number of them have gone home one after the other. Others have decided to go by bus to Accra. Others have also said that they cannot catch their business activities they're supposed to engage in Accra, and so they had to postpone it.
My flight was supposed to take off around 7:45, and as at 7:20, my luggages hadn't been checked in, and I went to the reception to ask, and then they told me Ghana Airport are on strike, and that is what is keeping me. I don't know what time.
I'm going to school. I actually have an exam at 3 p.m., a mid-semester exam at 3 p.m. Got to them, I contacted the people, they were like, okay, we should hold on, maybe in about an hour we'll go. We were supposed to leave at 7:30. That was a departure. It is now past 9. I'm considering going to Asafo to pick a bus and leave. For the midterm, definitely I'm going to miss it out. I doubt I can make it.
I'm a reverend minister. I'm going to Takrady for certain conference. From there, go to Cape Coast to meet a person, then return back and come back to Kumasi. But I've been thrown completely off board. Now I have to find a means to get to Cape Coast directly.
How disappointed are you in this situation?
Really, really disappointed. If you ask me 1 to 10, I would say on a scale of 10.
I'm going to one of my bank to sign one of their documents and come back. Yeah, I came early at 6 a.m. and immediately we were informed that the Souths are on strike, and we waited up to this time. But they later came to inform us that if we will not bother, we can go to the town and take transport and continue with our journey. And later, they will refund our money for us.
So after more than 3 hours, a number of passengers who couldn't wait had to leave the premises of the airport and seek other alternatives to get to their destinations in Accra. But those who were able to wait are now getting ready to get on board a flight and get to their destinations. And because information we are hearing is that the strike has been called off temporarily.
Yes, I spoke to one of their reps, and he said they have been given a go-ahead to start check-in. So we should give them about 10 to 15 minutes. So we are waiting to see what happens.
Okay, that's some assurance for you, right?
Yes, that's possible.
My name is Prince Apia, reporting from the Kumasi Airport.
Well, my colleague Kweku Asante has been following the crunch meeting the Ghana Airports Company Workers Union is having with the ministers designate for national security and transport. He joins me with the latest. Is the meeting over yet, Kweku?
So the understanding we have is that the meeting has just been concluded and that some issues have been agreed upon by both the leadership of the union here at the airport as well as the government representatives who were in the meeting. We are yet to be given the details in terms of what exactly have transpired in this meeting, but we understand from grapevine sources that some of the details agreed on are very positive for the airport union workers, for which reason they want to maintain the strike that they've just called off, so that in the time being, when they release the details, they would indicate the way forward.
Okay, and at the center of all of this is the managing director, Yaw Kwakwa, who is being accused of mismanagement. What do you anticipate is going to be the likely outcome of the discussions when they end?
And so the union has been very steady in terms of their demand that Mr. Yaw Kwakwa be removed from office as managing director of the Ghana Airport Company Limited. And so they say they are not going to back down, and they are telling me that they've had some very favorable ruling. Because, for instance, there's a report that which details have not been made public, which they say, according to the union, made some very damning findings against the managing director, for which he cannot survive. And so even this morning, as we've seen in the visuals, they've actually blockaded his office. They did not allow him to come into the office. He has not been there the whole day. And we understand that this meeting as well, he was not allowed into the meeting. It was just a meeting between the minister designated for transport, employment and labor relations, the chief of staff, the national security minister, as well as the union. And so for now, they are saying that they've had some victory. We are supposed to wait for a while and get the details of this victory that the union is championing here at the airport.
And final one, if you could do that in a minute for me, Kweku. We've been talking about how passengers were stranded earlier in the day. What's been the impact on airlines?
Right, and so I tried to speak to some staff members of the various airlines, and they say that they've lost a lot of money because a couple of flights have had to be cancelled in the morning. And so their various respective airlines will actually release a statement trying to detail the kind of losses that they've made. But for now, they are happy that the strike has been called off so that they can be able to airlift passengers to wherever they are going, either in Ghana or outside the country.
All right, Kweku Asante, thanks very much for being on this one for us. I appreciate the report in the whole of today. Now, let's move on to some other news, still transport related. Some of the major oil marketing companies have adjusted upwards their prices. One of the market leaders, Shell, is selling a litre of petrol and diesel at 5 cedis 32 pesos. Now, this represents more than 2% increase in the prices of the petroleum products. Joy Business is learning that other OMCs will follow suit to adjust their prices upwards in the coming hours. The adjustment has been influenced by rising prices of finished petroleum products on the international market. The increment could also trigger increase in transport fares. Now, the Chamber of Petroleum Consumers says the development makes a strong case for government to remove some taxes on fuel to caution consumers. Meanwhile, the Institute for Energy Security is calling on government to, as a matter of urgency, provide the necessary facilities to offload the excess gas that is being produced to ensure value for money. According to a study by energy think tank, the natural gas subsector is rapidly becoming a fiscal burden to the country due to poor energy strategies. And therefore, there shouldn't be any delays in building the necessary and relevant infrastructure to offtake processed domestic gas. Fritz Moses is research fellow with the IAS. He joins me for a discussion on this. Before we talk about this, Fritz, I just want to pick your thoughts on the increase in fuel prices and the impact, as we've seen, that it could even translate in an increase in transport fares. Just for the benefit of our viewers, put all of that into context for us.
All right. Thank you, Darrell. Yes, as we have already witnessed that some of the owners are showing up their prices for fuel or the various petroleum products. This influence definitely is because of the rise on international markets, and that rise has been occasioned by the continuing tightening of the market, but also the fact that the fact of the U.S. Issues or power or energy issues that's currently happening in Texas that's affecting their production. And so yes, that has definitely been affecting consumers over the year. Over the months, we've seen that increments being substantial from January till date. And so for transport fares, I believe that with the current over 10% increase in the product fares, we think that there will be that transport increment. We heard stories that they were going to increase, but had to listen to the decision and wait to what this market should. And then the price will continue to increase as we have already witnessed.
All right, Fritz. So let's talk about why we really called you to do with the offtake of gas and the problems that we are having at this point. What's the background to this story?
All right. So we analyzed data from from PIAC. Also, we got data from the Ministry of Finance and the Petroleum Commission. And basically, what we are seeing is an uptick in the natural gas production in the various fields. And so essentially, we have three fields in Ghana. That's the Sankofa Jiname, that's AGN, and then the Tain, and then the Jubilee field. But out of these three, you have two producing natural gas. That's both associated and non-associated gas. And we realized that for the period, the first half of 2019 and compared to the first half of has seen a considerable increase of about 60% in natural gas production. That also has meant that we are seeing a rise in the debt owed by GNPC to the various GNGC to GNPC. And this is because of our inability to take the gas that's produced due to the take-or-pay clauses that we have in the contracts that were signed between the GOG and the various producers. And we're also seeing that there's going to be an increase in production exploration in the various fields with the contract being extended to Accra Energy and all of that. And these figures that we are seeing, for example, in 2019, we saw, or the 2020 figures for the production of natural gas was about 160 million standard cubic feet.
Right.
And that in itself is costing the state about $54 million for the excess that we are not able to use. And so we think that this actually is not a good
right.
step, or it doesn't help the Ghanaian economy, because essentially what it does is it results in an increase in tariffs. That's basically what the natural gas that we are providing is used for the power industry, for the various IPPs to produce the power that we need. So in the event where we are buying these gas that we are producing from these fields, and we are not able to also use them, we are paying for the excess that we are using, then it means that we are going to pay more for gas that we are using, essentially.
And that's so much money we are losing there. So my final question, what relevant infrastructure do we need to offload the excess gas?
All right, thank you. So you realize that at the beginning of the year, we heard that the government had procured or finished processes that will bring in the RFU, that's the regasification floating unit, from China, and that we're going to import gas to regasify and use in our natural gas. We think that is actually not the right step. Instead of importing more gas and regasifying it and using them at the local level. We should rather look at getting a liquefaction unit that would rather export. Look at liquefying the gas that we have here, liquefy it and transport it across either vessels, if it is through pipelines that as a gas unit to other countries. We already have the West African gas pipeline. We can also use that means to export to other countries. We should rather look at exporting rather than importing more gas because we already have more excess. And with the data that we are receiving from the past 4 years and looking into the future, you will see that demand may not necessarily increase as we'd expect, but then the exploration is going to increase because now there's coming on board several fields and several production areas. That would mean that we are going to increase production, but then we are not seeing the commensurate demand increment. And so we should look at exporting to other countries that also need gas. I mean, Ghana's regasification unit has been on the tongue of several other countries. So we look at rather exporting to them and gaining more revenue. I mean, that sense. And we believe that in a sense also built the African continent confidence in handling its own affairs and of course in also sharing what we have with our neighbors and those who need it on the continent.
Fritz Moses,